Today I'm going to show off 4 watches from 4 fantastic brands and ask the question, which one comes out on top? Let's get into it! Yes, and welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. 4 watches from 4 powerhouse brands. I thought it would be a great bit of fun to put these 4 watches head to head and to see which one, in my opinion, comes on top. Will it be the most expensive? Who knows? But my picks are based on, well, dive watches. They're my favourite genre of watches. And I guess today's picks are sort of everyday, could be desk divers, but also are capable of being divers. Now, while I'm giving you my opinion, I'd love for you to give yours. Out of the 4 watches, which do you prefer? And also, do you find value in just the price and specs? Or is there more to the value of the watch than just the price? We're going to judge the looks, the wearability, the lume. We're also going to get my wife's opinion on all 4. Now, today's show is sponsored by the wonderful people at Francis & Gay. They are the #1 authorized dealer for your Seikos, Hamiltons, Sinns, Bremonts, ORISes, Longines, you name it. Thanks for F&G for sponsoring the show. Right, without further ado, let's have a look at some classy divers, shall we? Are you dive watch ready? Let's go. Right, I'm going to run through these watches like there is no tomorrow. Firstly, we have the Bremont Supermarine, the Iris Aquis, the Longines HydroConquest, and the Sinn EZM3F mission timer. Now, yes, I know what you're saying. That Sinn's not a diver? Correct, but listen, it can pretty much do all the diving features that these other watches can do, minus one tiny thing. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference to you. Now, a keen eye will have noticed already that we are dealing with a quartz watch here, not a mechanical automatic. To get the automatic HydroConquest is only £200 more, but it is pretty much exactly the same watch. However, because we don't have a free-flowing rotor at the back of this movement, it allows this watch to be mega thin. And to me, even though it is quartz, it's giving me vintage vibes, that case. Love the sloping lugs, and I do like the look of the crown with the crown guards. Have to say, I'm not a huge fan of polishing on bracelets. We'll come to that in a minute. But the watch head with the bezel and that HydroConquest looking dial, it is cool. Next up is the Aquis. Now, you can get this watch in a black dial with black bezel. I just wanted to have a look at the blue because I quite like the sunburstness of it. That's a word. As far as the case goes, it is hugely modern, isn't it? It almost looks like a UFO, and it also looks like the lugs are modular to the case, which means they've been stuck on. They haven't, but that's what it looks like. The crown guards are modular, which is quite a cool thing. If the crown guards get damaged, you could unscrew them, take them out, and put a new set on. ORIS tie you in when it comes to straps because of their lugs. It's almost like an integrated bracelet. It doesn't make the watch look big or small. The crown is nice and big. The quality of the finishing is great, and it should be great for this price. As my tastes are more towards the vintage aesthetic on case designs, not one of my favourite looking watches, but as modern designs go, ORIS has pretty nailed it. Next, we come to the Bremont. Bremont steel is 904L, which is the same steel as Rolex uses. Now, with that, you definitely get a nicer finish. You get a smoother feeling when you rub your fingers against any of the angles, and it does feel a bit more like jewelry than the others. And I have to say, so far, this is the best finished watch, and so it should be for the price. I love the angles of the sides of the case. It's a modern looking case, still has that vintage aesthetic to it. I can't quite pinpoint what it reminds me of. Straight away though, I'm picking up the lugs. They are very thin and they look very long. This may not look good on my 6.5-inch wrist. However, love the shape of the crown guards and I love the signed crown. And people, I say this so many times, but I much prefer an aluminium insert bezel to a polished ceramic one. There are brands out there doing matte ceramic inserts. It's something that Bremont could have used, but they've gone aluminium. First impressions, I don't love it. There are reasons for that, I'll say in a minute, but with this bracelet, It is quite a striking watch. And now we come to the black sheep of the family. The watch that shouldn't really be here because it's a pilot's watch. However, you wouldn't have thought it with the specifications I'll tell you about in a minute. Those again with the keen eye will notice that the crown is on the wrong side. Wrong side to me anyway. Now this has been done on purpose by Sinn in this EZM F3 mission pilot's watch. Just for comfort. When you've got it on your wrist and you're maneuvering the wrist, the crown doesn't affect your hand. But it does make sense. However, it does look a little bit weird and it takes a bit of adjustment, you know? Now the case and bracelet, it's all bead blasted. Now I absolutely love bead blasted cases and bracelets because it's very hard to scratch it up and the case always looks almost brand new. Now the downside with bead blasted watches are the versatility of them. They're very tool-tastic and with no polishing around them whatsoever, it might be hard to wear this every day. I'm sure people will have a go though. Even though this is a modern looking case, I far prefer it over the Aquis. Love the bezel insert, love the bezel, love the grip of the bezel, and with the H-link bracelet, it just looks the business. When we're talking about looks, it's the Sinn that wins. Now I know all you guys out there are dying to know, what's the bezels like? Yeah, I'm gonna love this. Let's go for the last round's winner, which is the Sinn EZM. Now this is not a dive watch, therefore we are not gonna get a unidirectional bezel, and the measurements on the bezel aren't diver related. They are count up or count down in 5-minute increments. So we've got a bi-directional bezel, 60 clicks, and it is that Sinn push. Beautifully designed. Have a listen. There's not a click. It's just a doof, 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 doof. Something I had in my 104 and in my U50. The bezel on here I could twist all day. Not too tight, not too light. Super! Onto Bremont's bezel. Now even though the insert is matte, we have a coin edging to it, but it's polished, which is not a good sign in gripability. Now here we have 120 clicks. It's unidirectional. There is the slightest of back play, but as 120 click bezels go, this is not bad at all. Have a listen. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel too light. It's pretty good. Super. On to the Aquis. Now, I've never been too much of a fan of ORIS's bezels. I don't think they spend too much time refining the bezel actions on their watches. Tend to be a bit wiggly and a bit light, but let's have a look. Whoa. Okay, so it's light. It's quite a nice feeling, but there is, at the minute, this is the watch that has the most back play. It is disappointing to me. Because of the price, you would expect a little bit more time taken on getting a great bezel action, you know? There you go. It is 120 clicks. It is unidirectional, but it's not good enough for that price. Onto the Longines. Let's have a look. So, again, we've got polishing on the grip, and it is quite tight to turn. It is unidirectional. What I really don't like is at 12 and at 6 for about 10 minutes length, there's no grip at all on the bezel. So when you are turning it and you're at the 30 marker trying to turn it round, you've lost your grip. You've got no grip. The action, well, it's far better than the Iris Aquis, but nowhere near as good as the first two. Anyway, the bezel winner for me, hands down, is the Sinn. Just beautiful refinement. It's its own feeling. Oh, German engineering, don't you know?
Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
Well, for me, Sinn's won the last 2 rounds. We'll start with Sinn on this round and we'll look at the bracelet. So, bead blasted affair. This is their H-link bracelet. Stainless steel, very solid, very thick. Solid end links, solid links. To get the links off, you need a hex screwdriver, but just very German, you know? Over engineering on this bracelet. Great articulation, great drop from the lugs. The clasp is signed but very simple. Twin button deployant, and we do have an on the fly extension. I think it's up to about 5 or 6 millimeters. It's not going to look great on the wrist, but it's there if you get a bit chunky. Now, as this HydroConquest is the cheapest of the 4 watches, you'd expect the bracelet to not be as good as the other 3, and it feels significantly cheaper than the Sinn. Thinner links, solid end links. The links are held together with screws, which is great. We have a fold over security, no double deployment, you have to get your nail in there. We have a milled clasp. Wow, a very rudimentary diver's extension. Now that's not going to look good on any wrist apart from a diving wrist, and I can't see many divers wearing a HydroConquest. We do have 3 micro adjustment holes, but nothing on the fly. Next up, the Aquis. Now, you can't put any old bracelet or strap on an Aquis because of the lug sizes that are very chunky. The lug width is half the size of every other watch. We have polished outer links with brushed center links, and even though I don't like the polishing on them, it does go well with the glossiness and polishiness of the watch itself. I have to say the links do feel very refined. They have a little kink in the middle of them, which is nice. Held together by screws, and they have got to be the thinnest links we see today. Double deployment on the nice small clasp, milled clasp, and again we have a diver's extension that goes out, I'd say about 5 to 7 millimeters. It's again a diver's extension, not an on-the-fly adjustment. We do have again 3 micro adjust holes, possibly something ORIS could look into improving in the future. And finally, the Bremont. Now, this being the most expensive watch of the 4, you'd expect the bracelet to be the best. And to be fair, I have never seen anything like this before. It looks to be 2 barrels of 1 link. Great polishing and brushing pattern that goes through the middle of this watch. I have to say, I don't like the way the bracelet fits in between this watch. It's almost as if the end link was made too small. The ribs of those links start too early, and it just looks a bit awkward and busy. Anyway, these links are held together by screws. They are the most refined and the most engineered. I imagine they'll be the most comfortable on a wrist. Again, we have a double deployment on the clasp. It is milled, and we have a very unusual on-the-fly adjust. You can push and pull out to millimeter increments. On the whole, I think Bremont's bracelet is the best all round, although I don't like how it sits in the case. Okay, let's look at the faces.
Dials time.
And let's go straight to Bremont, as they are last round's winner. There's just something missing with these dials. The new logo is huge and bold on this matte black dial. I do really like the sloping Reholt with the 15-minute increments being in orange. I do like that. That matches well with the super marine text. For me, I feel like the indices, especially the round ones, are too small, and I think the handset is too small. Honestly, they just get lost in the dial. This is, after all, a dive watch, and legibility is paramount. Now on to the Aquis. Now, I love the color of this dial. Lovely sunburst blue, but that's not what I want to look at properly, because I need to imagine that this is a black dial. It's very simple, but I do really like it. The indices have enough lume on them and enough shine on them that they are very legible in all lights. The minute hand is a bit small, very thin bit of lume's going to be on them. Date window at 6 o'clock, great for symmetry. I don't think we need pressure resistant on the watch, so there's a line you can get rid of. But clean, sharp, very legible, like it. Now onto the Longines, and it doesn't really know what it wants to do. Legibility wise, yes, it is legible. The 6, 9 and 12 to me look like a Rolex Explorers, just massively enlarged. And timing your dive to the precise minute, I think the numerals could get in the way. I do love that Longines logo. And something I don't think I've ever seen before, lume around the outside, and then another set of indices not really doing anything other than shining to give you more legibility. Nice one liner below the hand stack. I must say there is a lot of shininess on the handset. Date window at 3 o'clock I don't love, but I have to accept. It's not the greatest dial, but it is quite iconic to Longines nowadays. And finally, the Sinn. German engineering, isn't it? Anything that is on the dial is there for a reason, but the one thing I don't like that much is the date window that is in between the 3 o'clock and the 4 o'clock. Do we need to have a date window there? It just looks a bit off. I love the size of the indices. It reminds me of an Omega Pro Prof, and I do quite like the hands, although I still think they could be a bit chunkier as well. The red on the dial is magnificent, and this is my sort of thing. So what do you know? Another round where the Sinn wins. Next up, it's a loom off, starting with Sinn. And wow, this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the benchmark. We've got a loom pip on the bezel, loomed hands, loomed indices, great legibility, looming gorgeous. Next up, the Longines, and it has to be said, not the best. I gave these watches the same amount of loom charge, and this is another way of telling that this is possibly not the most expensive watch. However, because of those big numerals, it will be legible a very long time, just not as bright. On to the Bremont, and yeah, this is not bad. A different kind of loom, a BGW9 loom. It's not massively in your face, but it's that refined looking loom, you know? Rich loom. And on to the Aquis, and it's okay. It's not amazing. But as we are not dealing with a cheap watch, it's a little bit disappointing. The Sinn's won again. It's not even a dive watch. Right, it's at this point we say what's powering the watch. And again, this could be subjective, couldn't it? Inside the Sinn, we have a Swiss Solita SW200-1. It's an automatic mechanical movement, sweeping away at 28,800 beats per hour. It hacks, it hand winds. It's one of my favorite movements. Easy to service, easy for watchmakers to have a look at if you have a problem with it. The only problem for me, it's left-handed. Having to do everything with the left hand instead of the right hand just makes me feel a bit icky. Now in the Bremont, we have a modified caliber 11, which is the BE-92AV. It's got 25 joules, has a Glycideur balance wheel, an Anachron balance spring, and a Niviflex mainspring, sweeping away at 28,800 beats per hour with a 50-hour power reserve. The unscrewing of the crown is a bit grainy, pops out nicely. The winding of the movement is lovely and silky smooth. The moving of the hands is nice, but this is one of the reasons why Bremont charges a lot of money, because they modify movements and they modify it in their HQ on Henley-on-Thames. Is it worth it though? The Iris Aquis has its own caliber. It's the 733, which again is based on another movement, the Solita SW200-1, like Sinn. They have a custom rotor, which is as far as the customizing I can see going. 38 hours power reserve, like the Sinn. The moving of the hands, I would say, is better than Bremont. Now, this is the only watch that is quartz. Like I said, for £200, you can get a HydroConquest with an automatic movement. It will make it 2mm thicker. With this, we have basically an ETA quartz. It has a low power indicator, which means when it's about to need a battery, the seconds hand will jump a few seconds, just to let you know. But out of all 4 watches, this one will be the most accurate. But what I would say is, although I like the look of the crown of this watch, operating it, it doesn't feel nice at all. That lip, that flat part, it looks like a lid that's been put on top of the crown. It just digs into the fingers. And I've got soft fingers, people, you know. It's not a nice experience. Would you believe it? For me, the ORIS comes out on top.
Hello.
Okay, on my 6.5-inch wrist and the Iris Aquis, it's lovely, isn't it? Doesn't feel like a 41 at all. It feels more like a 39 or a 40. Usually I like reholts in my watches that slope down to make the dials look smaller, but this, with this sunburst blue, well, it is really nice. The case hugs the wrist beautifully, and it is very comfortable. On to the Bremont, and well, we do have long lugs. A set of Batman's ears lugs, either end of the watch, still fits my wrist okay. The bracelet gives, I'm not buying it. I'm not liking it. The bracelet is lovely, don't get me wrong. It just doesn't fit in the case right. The end links need to be bigger or the lugs made smaller. You choose, Bremont. The case actually doesn't hug as well as the Aquis, even though it is slightly thinner. It is a shame because the bracelet's articulation is the best. Onto the Longines, and Whew. You definitely see that vintage looking case. I really like this, really like it. It has the quirks of the crown that I don't like when you operate it, but to look at is great. The lugs are long, but they slope the right way. The bracelet, don't like it. If I owned this watch, it would probably go on a rubber strap, but this quartz watch head fits flipping good. And finally, the Sinn. Wow. And this, well, this fits magic as well. This is going to feel so comfortable once sized. I don't have the biggest of wrists, but the watch hugs it in a way that it feels so secure and feels as though it was made for me. On paper, again, this watch you would have thought would look a little bit big on me, but it doesn't. It looks brilliant. So much so, I think I need a Sinn in my life again. I have to say the winner for me, it's a close call between the Longines and the Sinn, but it's got to go to the Sinn. So there we go. You probably guessed it by now, but as it's won a lot of the rounds, my favourite watch of the four is definitely the Sinn. Now, I want you to choose your favourite watch of the four now, before I go through the prices. Does it change your mind in any way? First of all, the cheapest watch here today is the Longines Diver. It's £1,100. To get the automatic, it's another £200 on top. For a brand with this much history, it's a fantastic value proposition. You don't get a great bracelet, but you get a very well-made vintage inspired looking case with a very iconic looking dial to Longines. The next price watch in order is the Sinn. This is £2,005. For me, and the amount of watches that I go through and I review over the years and over the weeks, for what this watch gives you in terms of value and in terms of exclusive looks, I think it's damn good. And I haven't mentioned this. Sinn really go the extra lengths in over-engineering their watches. This is a perfect example because in this watch is AR dehumidifying technology, which is basically anti-fogging. Also, the movement is hugely anti-magnetic. It has temperature-resistant technology, meaning this watch can work in temperatures below 45 centigrade and above 80. The stainless steel of this watch is nickel free, which means it's never going to leave a stain on your wrist. And for a pilot's watch to give you all this and 200 meters of water resistance from a brand that's made a very good name for themselves now, I think that's great. Now we come on to the Iris Aquis, the next run up in price, £2,200. A big chunk of the price of this watch is in the heritage, and I don't mind that, but you can see the difference that the features on this watch are to the Sinn. It's not Swiss, therefore it's not seen as special as a Swiss watch house. I do like the Aquis. I think it is very unique and exclusive to ORIS. Not a huge fan of the bracelet with the rudimentary diver's extension. £2,200. It's a lot of money. I don't see the value in this as much as the Sinn. And that's coming from someone that loves a bit of history. Then we come to the Bremont. This watch is the most expensive of the four. It is £3,450. They assemble a lot of their watches in their English HQ and they use 904L steel, something that not many other watch brands use. This watch comes from the youngest brand of the lot, so the history value of this watch is zilch. So then you try and question, well, what am I paying for? It is a very well-made diver with a very exclusive and very smooth and articulating bracelet. The dial, however, for me, is a bit plain and generic. I feel like this watch possibly should be closer to the Iris Aquis price than it is a whole £1,450 more. So in value terms, what do I get the most amount of features for the money that I'm paying? What do you know? It's the flipping Sinn again. And if there was one watch I would buy right now, or given out of the four right now, it would be the Sinn. Sinn number 1, Longines number 2, number 3 Aquis, number 4, the most expensive watch, the Bremont. What do you think? So here we are, my wife's views on all four watches. Buckle up, starting with the Sinn EZM. This is quite nice. It does remind me of a roulette wheel though, and I don't like the Avenger symbol on the dial. Plus, it feels a bit heavy, but it's okay. Next up, the ORIS Aquis. Way too shiny, way too shiny. Too blingy. Reminds me of an old man's watch. It's a generic looking thing. Then we have the Longines HydroConquest quartz. No. The dial is weird. It looks like it's been in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, been shrunk and then been blown up again, but only half of the dial. It looks weird, it is weird, and it's too shiny. And finally, the Bremont Supermarine. I don't like this. It looks too bland. The dots on the dial look like hailstones, way too tiny. It's just a generic watch. There you go, team. You know, she has spoken. Believe it or not, she thought the Sinn was the most expensive watch, followed by the Longines, Bremont, then the Aquis. And believe it or not, her favourite, well, like me, was the Sinn. Do you think she'll let me buy one? Thank you so much for watching till the end. It's always great to compare these watches, aren't they? I've got different opinions to you. If you own one of these watches and you have a completely different opinion to me, that's what it's all about. It's a great question though, isn't it? Where do you find value? In specs, history, or brand status? If you want to support the Mad Watch Collector further, and I hope you do, we now have a Patreon, behind the scenes content, see the shows before anyone else, blooper reels, and get your name credited at the end of the show like these lovely people. But if I've got you for a few more minutes, why don't you check this one out? This is, well, sensational. Very cool. I mean, it's one of my favourites. You need to check it out. Go on, click it. Click it!